Welcome to the West Ham fan prediction show, I guess. West Ham fan does Premier League predictions. I don't know how I'm going to title this video, probably just Premier League predictions. But yeah, listen, my last two Premier League prediction videos did not go down well. Like, the predictions were all over the place, apart from Man City winning the league, it was quite obvious. But listen, you're seeing this on a Thursday. I am recording this on a Monday. So anything in between that might have swayed my predictions, I can't do it anymore. And also, I always do this before the transfer window ends, because it makes it harder and more interesting. I reckon it'll actually be quite easy if I see people play after the 31st of August and see what their business is like. I think it'll be quite easy to see where people will finish. And also, make sure to like and subscribe if you are new. Road to 200 subscribers. Let's get straight in now. 20th, Sheffield United. By the way, I just came in and saw that they were selling Sander Berg to Burnley. Iliman and Dia's gone. Sander Berg is gone. Who is your profit players now? I'm not sure. Have you got a striker that's prolific? No. I'm rooting for Ryan Brewster because he's from Chadwell Heath. Same area I'm from. So I'm rooting for Ryan Brewster. I hope he has a very good season. But I just think your team overall with the same formation probably as the Chris Wilder days when you were back up, and I just don't think it's the same anymore. I just don't think you can be a solid defensively in this league. I don't think you guys have the quality anymore. I'm being real. Sorry, Sheffield United fans. That's my opinion. But selling probably two of your most notable players. I don't know about best players, but two of your most notable players, because I didn't watch Sheffield United much last season in the Championship, only the games against Burnley, so I can't go off everything. But what I know, Iliman Diaz is very good, and Sanderberg is very good. Luton Town at 19th. They could make their home place a fortress, but I'm sorry, man. Like, you can't even play your first home game. Don't get me wrong, Issa Kabul, Ryan Giles, very good signings at wing backs, and Edwards wants to play better football than the football he has to play at Luton because the players there are more used to direct football. Big up to Penny Roddick and Panzu, who came through. I don't know when he came through the West Ham Academy, but he was there for a bit, and then he went all the way in the journey with Luton. Big up Reece Burke, big up Dan Potts. It's good to see them in the Premier League. There's not much Premier League experience there, but there's an experienced team there. I reckon Clinton Morris and Adebayo are gonna give defenders a hard time. I reckon you'll definitely beat a Big Six team at Kenilworth Road. It's going to be interesting to see what it's rebuilt like as well. I actually missed out on a ticket to see Luton West Ham last season and pre-season, so I was glad I didn't get to the stadium. But Luton, I don't think you have got the facilities for that to stay up. But I reckon it'll be more of a lack of goals rather than conceding goals. It'll be a lack of scoring goals, the reason why you won't stay up. 18th. This might be a bit controversial. I've gone Bournemouth, although that might not be as controversial now that I think about it. I think Bournemouth have got a good manager from what I've read, and I think they've got good signings. I don't know much about Cliver, but Kirkes, I watched him in the semi-final when he played against us, and he was really good. He's good at Football Manager as well. But I don't think they have enough players to play the kind of football that Iriola wants to play. I'll be completely real. I think if you want to sack Gary O'Neill and bring in a more progressive manager, I get that from the ownership. I get it. I actually get it. I get what they're trying to do. One of the players that they tried to sign failed at medical, the guy from Fiorentina, the midfielder, and there's a Jefferson Lerma shaped hole that needs filling still. And maybe that'll get done in the transfer window, but you need better players. It's just simple, you need better players. And I think Bournemouth were very proactive at first, but I don't think they've done enough still. 17th, just missing out, is Crystal Palace for me. Crystal Palace still have Roy Hodgson as manager. They still have Jordan Ayew for some reason. They still have Edouard and Mateta up front, which is probably why they won't score as much. And they've got a Wilfred Zaha-shaped hole that they need filling. They've also got Jefferson Lerma, Doucouré and Eze in midfield. That's a good midfield. Will Elise leave? If Elise leaves, that could completely switch my prediction because you can't keep relying on Barrett Eze. He's an amazing player. Just don't put all the pressure on him. Mateta and Edouard aren't going to score enough goals. Is Joaquin Anderson going to stay at the club as well? I don't see any clubs linked. There was a rumor that he dipped out of the pre-season tour, but I'm gonna assume that isn't true. They've got old right backs. They've got one left back. Mark Gurley's good. Sam Johnson's a good goalkeeper. So's Gaeta. I think Johnston should be number one by now. They've got an up-and-coming goalkeeper, Joe Whitworth. If put it this way, if Elise goes, I think they're gone. But they've got this Franca guy. I think he's called Franca, that Brazilian dude. I've not watched him before, so if he's good, let me know in the comments. But I think they'll just miss out. I know they finished around 11th, 12th, etc. But the reliance on Wilfred Zaha was a lot. Like even before Eze and Elise, they were relying on Zaha a lot, and Zaha's gone now. Again, he's very desperate for Champions League football. So desperate that he's playing for probably one of the worst Champions League sides that he could have picked. But we move. Yeah, I think Palace will just miss out on relegation unless they sell Elise. 16th, Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest, they won't suffer with second season syndrome. Steve Cooper's a good manager. If they play the three at the back instead of the diamond formation, they'll be fine. I reckon Brennan Johnson will stay. I think they should get Jed Spence back because he's on the transfer list at Tottenham. Although Nico Williams and Sergio Aurier had good seasons. If they keep Niakate and Felipe fit, they'll be solid at the back. Don't know where the fuck Omar Richards is. They signed him and he didn't play at all. Probably got injured again. Morgan Gibbs-White will have a good season. Taiwo Awoniyi, I still don't know how to say his name. He'll be good as well. He'll probably step up with a few more goals. He was crucial to them staying up. They've got some decent players. They don't need to sign 30 players to make a side because they would lost 30 players last season as well. 15th, I've got Wolves. I know a lot of people put Wolves in the relegation zone. But I think they've got a good enough home record and a good enough manager and a tight enough defence for them to stay up. I think losing Jimenez, Adama Traore, who was good for Wolves, I know he's not a great player, but he's good for Wolves, Ruben Neves, João Moutinho, Nathan Collins, etc. I think there's too many departures. Matt Doherty, yeah, fair enough, you brought him back to the club, but he shouldn't have left in the first place when playing in the three in the back formation. They haven't been the same since Nuno left. I know they were okay under Bruno Lage first season, but they were playing the same formation again. It's pretty much like Nuno's tactics, but just a bit more position. Losing Conor Cody with the experience that he brings as well. I know he's not the greatest defender, but he's a leader. I just think Wolves will become too predictable on the ball, but they won't concede many goals. I just think maybe a bit of lack of goals. Which is similar problem to the next team, 14th, my club, West Ham United. I predicted us to finish 14th. We've got Edson Alvarez in as probably the Declan Rice replacement. We need another midfielder. We need more signings. We need a left back because Aaron Cresswell's gone AWOL. We need a right winger to compete with Jared Bowen. We need a striker now that Scamacca's gone. We need and we need a right-footed centre back. That's not Harry Maguire. Please. If we sign Harry Maguire, we're going down. David Moyes, he should have just left on a high. That's why I wanted him to go after the final, because people are making an excuse about the final and stuff, about how he should stay here because he brought us our best memory. But the best memory doesn't relate to the season coming up. You progress as a club. Bournemouth stayed up after Gary O'Neill got them up, but they sacked him and moved on. We'll see if that works out, but the intention is there. Dean Smith did a lot for Aston Villa, but they moved on, got Steven Gerrard, fair enough. Didn't work, got Unai Emery. We should have got Emery at the time, but Edson Alvarez, good signing for what I've seen. I've seen him play 3 times in the Champions League when they had Ajax, Napoli and Liverpool in their group. When they had Rangers, Napoli and Liverpool in their group. And yeah, I just think it's going to be a long season for us, especially with being in Europe for another season, Thursday, Sunday football. It's not going to work. We'll be in a relegation battle, but I would say we won't go down. But I had us originally in 18th in when I drafted these predictions. I wouldn't be surprised if we got relegated this season. 13th, Everton. Everton will be fine. Last season at Goodison Park, they're going to make that fortress. Sean Dyche in charge. Sean Dyche worked with so many shit players at Burnley. They'll be fine. They'll be solid at the back. And they've got a couple of signings in to fill that Calvert-Lewin hole. That when he always gets injured, he's injured now. Neil Mopai is shit. They should probably sell him. They probably need another winger as well. And I just think Sean Dyche is enough of a motivator to help Everton progress. As in, when I mean progress, I just mean stay up. To be honest, I don't think they'll be in a last few games relegation battle like they were in the previous 2 seasons. If they still had Frank Lampard, I probably would have put them 20th. But with Damari Gray going, that's probably good for them. He's an alright player, but honestly, I just don't think he's good enough in general to be good enough on a consistent basis. I think they've got okay midfielders. I think and they'd probably need another centre back to pair Tarkowski because Michael Keane isn't good enough, but that's Dyche's guy. Like, I don't know, but I think they have enough to not be in a last few games relegation battles. As I just said, I put Sean Dyche's former club above them, Burnley at 12th. I think Burnley will be fine. I think they'll be in a relegation battle for a bit, and I think around Christmas time you'll see that all their players will maybe have clicked a little bit, and they've played a nice football, and they'll expose teams and they'll rattle teams. I think they've still got a dirty side to them. They've still got some of the experience from a couple of seasons ago, but they've got young, exciting talents, a couple of explosive players. They're going to get Sander Berg over the line, apparently. Apparently they were interested in Lokonga as well. I don't think that's a good signing, but his company's guy. He brought Josh Cullen with him. Josh Cullen, former West Ham player. We should have kept him. We were saying it at the time when he was on loan at Charlton at the time. We should have kept him. We really fucked up with that one. One of the few guys that came from our academy to do good, and we sell him. But listen, good luck to Josh Cullen as well. I think Burnley will be fine. I think they've got enough talent to stay up. It'll be interesting to see if Wout Weghorst starts for Burnley up front as well. Nathan Redmond's actually a good player, but I don't think he's going to score like 10 goals or anything. But I think he's a decent winger. They're getting this Ajax winger apparently, unless it might get hijacked by Reims or something. But we'll see. I think Burnley have got enough, and I think they'll have a good home record. I think Turf Moor will still be a tough place to go. I don't think they'll start well, but I think they'll end the season very well. 11th, I've gone Fulham. I think a lot of people are going to put Fulham in a relegation zone and say they're going to go for a relegation battle and stuff like that. I just think they'll finish mid-table again. I think Marco Silva and some of the players, Harrison Reed, Chao Palhinha, Calvin Bassey is a great signing, Anthony Robinson, Bobby De Cordova-Reid, Jimenez, maybe Mitrovic won't go. Andres Pereira had a good season. Tim Reeves experienced. Kenny Tete had a good season. Bernd Leno was an underrated signing of last season. They've got enough. They won't be in a relegation battle. There's a lot of teams that are worse than Fulham out there. And I don't know who else they've signed apart from Calvin Bassey, but I think they'll be fine. As I've said, that's a phrase I've said a lot in this video, but Fulham will definitely just be mid-table. Like, there's not going to be really much to say about Fulham, but I think they'll be happy with that, staying in the league again, because they were a yo-yo club at some point. 10th, I've gone their West London rivals, Brentford. Brentford will probably be overlooked. I think they'll say, they could lose Ivan Toney for half the season. They don't have to play direct football all the time, because Ivan Toney can use his feet and can use his aerial abilities really well. So they mix it up. But now they're just going to play on the floor, be creative. Johan Wissa, Damsgaard, and Mbeumo, and Kevin Shard, and all these people will fill in with goals. I expect a great season from Mbeumo again. I expect a great season from Josh Da Silva. They've got a lot of good players. They've got good defenders. Me and Pinnock at the back. Aaron Hickey, Rico Henry's a great wing back, a great full back in general. And listen, Brentford will surprise a lot of people with them just finishing 10th again. And I think they'll have a great home record again. A lot of, which I mentioned from a lot of teams in this video. But I think Brentford will be completely fine. 9th, I've gone Brighton. Fun fact, I actually tried recording this video like an hour ago when I'm recording this, and I got to 6th. No, I got to 5th, and I realised that I forgot to talk about Brighton. But we're talking about Brighton now. Robert De Zerbi got Brighton into Europa League, carried on Graham Potter's great work and making them play ever so slightly different way. Not 3 at the back, it's more of a 4 at the back, and they've got enough talent. They signed a replacement before the player goes, and I think Caicedo will go. Dahoud, Milner, experience. João Pedro, another striker. That's good on the ball. Evan Ferguson, I'm expecting a great season from Evan Ferguson, a young player. Lewis Dunk is very underrated. So is Webster. Because got Joel Veltman at the back. De Zerbi seems to like Joel Veltman very much. Solly March had a great season last season. Pascal Gross has always steps up for them. Purvis Estupinian was up there with some of the best left backs in the league last season. He probably was best left back in the league last season, and he's actually an upgrade on Cucurella. They've got Verbugen and Jason Still in goal after selling Robert Sanchez to Chelsea. I don't think they'll finish in a European place due to the fact that they've also got Thursday, Sunday football. I do think they'll have to change the tactics up in Europe a bit. I think they might just get counted on in Europe. In Europe, you need to be a bit more defensively sound. I would say that's Brighton's only weakness, the fact that, example being Everton with a freak result like that, a lot of teams are going to try that same tactic that Everton did by just hitting them on a counter. And Brighton probably need to defend better on a counter. That's just my criticism of Brighton. But yeah, 9th place, I think they'll be fine. 8th, Tottenham. Generally not being biased, my honest opinion, just don't think they back their manager enough. Van der Ven, I've not watched him before, but he's a new centre-back. He's probably better than Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez, the evil twins of Tottenham. I don't know why they're still there. You need to be more serious. If you want to be more serious and ruthless, you have to sell them. I don't know why they're selling Jed Spence, because if your right backs are Emerson Royale and Pedro Porro, one that can't go forward, one that can't defend, you're fucked. I think they need new fullbacks. Ben Davies, yeah, squad player, whatever. Just don't play week in, week out. Then he will be shocking. He could just be a steady Eddie if he comes in now and then. But he's part of a lot of the thrashings that Tottenham have had over the years. Dennis Udogie, for what I've seen, looks good. Young and up and coming. Good at left back. They've still got Reguilon for some reason. Still got Ryan Sessegnon for some reason. They've still got Ndombele, a good player technically, but very lazy. He just gets crashed on by any midfielder with any sort of energy. Basuma will have a great season. So will Maddison. The whole Harry Kane thing, though, is he settled at the club. He's a top professional, apparently. So maybe he won't throw in the towel this time. But apparently they've rejected the bid from Bayern Munich, according to Sky Sports anyway. I think Harry Kane will just leave on a free if he has any common sense. But if it truly in me, I generally think he'll sign a new contract because the guy has no brain cells. But Ange Postecoglou is a good manager. He likes to play with deep wingers that hug the touchline that could cut in sometimes. So I wonder if Son and Kulusevski can do that. I just think James Maddison will be, if not Harry Kane, it will be him and Basuma being their best players. I just think they need more defenders, and I think they need to allow their goalkeeper a bit because he's only just joined. But that's my opinion. I think 8th will get them Conference League this season because of the top 5 thing in the Champions League. That is about the coefficient and stuff like that. 7th, I've gone with Newcastle. I know Newcastle fans might not be happy with that because I think they've reached Champions League a bit too early. That's just my opinion, because usually in this kind of process things, the PR stuff, I think they probably reached the Champions League a bit too early. I think they got into a Carabao Cup final and they had a slight hangover after that. They've got a tight defence and they've done good business. Harvey Barnes will have an amazing season. People know how much I like Harvey Barnes on this channel. He'll have an amazing season. Sandro Tonali, good signing. I think the Italian media will be on to him about comeback to Italy and stuff like that. Fair enough, you got Livramento at right back depth, but where is your left back? You can't have Dan Burn against some of these right wingers you're going to come up against in the league and in the Champions League. Imagine one of the Bayern Munich wingers coming up against Dan Burn in the Champions League. Maybe play Matt Target a bit. So much as I don't rate him, he started off well when he started at Newcastle for a bit. Nick Pope, good in goal. Sven Botman, experience at the back with Trippier and Shaw. You need depth for Shaw because Jamal Lascelles ain't going to cut it. And you still got a lot of deadwood from the Ashley era, but players like Joe Linton, Willock, Murphy, who stepped up last season, Almiron, had a bit of a dip. I think Anthony Gordon might have to step up this season. And I'd say Maximan's gone, but as I said, Harvey Barnes is there. And Wilson and Isak as your strikers is actually very good. So fair play. I reckon they'll finish 7th, which will probably get them a Europa League spot. 6th, I've gone with Aston Villa. People are going to mention the Thursday, Sunday football. But here's the thing. With the Conference League, they've got a good enough second team to probably win a few games in the Conference League. With if you set up with a team with the likes of Dendoncker and Douglas Luiz and Leon Bailey and the Duran guy and Coutinho if he stays and Bertrand Traore, roughly those players can step up in the Conference League while you have your first teamers playing in the Premier League, your Pau Torres, your Tielemans, Diaby, who are three great signings and they show ambition. And I'm a man who, in the era of Smith and Gerrard, was like, stop hyping up Aston Villa to be the next best thing because they're not going to do it, and people say it every year. But with Unai Emery, he's a guy who knows Europe and will know how to win away games and know how to piss people off on away days. And they'll have a great away record. They might be a bit predictable with the offside trap. Maybe they might get figured out with that, but it's very hard to just get them behind sometimes because of the way Emery plays. Martinez will stay. They've got a good enough team to challenge the Big Six for as long as Unai Emery is there, and they're completely ready for the season, in my opinion. I think Ollie Watkins is a bit overrated because he just goes on streaks and then dips for a bit and then people hype him up, but he will chip in with goals, and I think he will do enough for what Aston Villa want. At fifth, I've gone with Chelsea. And they have no excuse to really finish fifth after having one game a week, a bit like Tottenham, when they're finishing eighth. But the thing is with Chelsea is that they don't have many midfielders that are experienced, and maybe Pochettino's expecting signings. But I think they've got a lot of young, talented players. They'll play some very good football, and I reckon they'll challenge for a cup, maybe an FA Cup or Carabao Cup. Because their Wembley record is terrible, and that's something they need to finish. It's something they need to fix. But I generally think that they will be fine in terms of league position. I don't think they'll dip, but I think one game a week you probably should be getting minimum fourth, in my opinion. Especially if you're a club of that caliber, especially. But yeah, and Nkunku, that's an amazing signing. Nicholas Jackson looks good in pre-season. I haven't watched him before the summer series happened. Keeping Levi Colwill, of course. He's an amazing centre-back, but he needs to step it up in a Chelsea shirt. There's pressure on him. He's got Badi Ashile as his competition at left centre-back, so that's great competition. I don't rate Robert Sanchez. That's a terrible signing, in my opinion. You guys have got two Keppers, and people can say Sanchez's distribution's good, but if someone's pressing Robert Sanchez, the guy panics and fails and flops. But listen, what do I know? I'm not a manager, but I don't think Robert Sanchez is a good signing. And if that's your long-term number one, I don't think anyone should be moved. I'm expecting good seasons from Madueke and Mudryk. Sterling has no excuses. Ian Matson will probably step up to the plate. I'm expecting no excuses from Ben Chilwell and Reece James either, the same as Marc Cucurella. I'm expecting Thiago Silva to somehow look like he's 25, even though he's about 45. And I think Chelsea will be fine. As I've said many times in this video, the phrase will be fine has been used a lot, I'm aware. But yeah, Chelsea have no excuses. Fourth, Manchester United. I think Man United, if they get Amrabat, there may be more depth at centre-back. If they were to get like an actual consistent winger as well, I've said this before, they could challenge for the league. But I think them and the team that I'm going to say at third will probably do what Arsenal did last season and challenge for the league and then dip off. But Man United, good. Højlund, I've never watched him before, but they needed a striker. Amrabat will be a great signing once Fred and Van der Beek goes. I'm expecting that to be done. Do not give us Maguire and McTominay. I will buy a noose from Amazon. Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. I know there's a lot of questions about either right back, but I think when in games where you want to attack, I think Dalot's enough. But in games at Anfield and the Etihads, you need a Wan-Bissaka. You need a Wan-Bissaka type, like, may not be able to play the football that you want, but you need him to like defend. Like when you need to defend for your life and come up against those kind of wingers, Wan-Bissaka, you need him. You need Wan-Bissaka. I'm expecting Luke Shaw to fucking be consistent for once in his life. I think he was very overhyped last season, and I don't think he's good enough for if Man United want to eventually challenge for a title. And I'm expecting Malacia to get more game time, and they need to do better in the Champions League. Bruno Fernandes, let's see if he can actually control the midfield. The guy is heavily overrated. Great final ball, great striker of the ball, but he doesn't do enough as a proper midfielder. Neither does Mason Mount. I don't understand that signing either. I think Casemiro has got too much to do if you're going to play a midfielder, Mount, Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes. And that's just my opinion. If you get Amrabat in and play Casemiro and Amrabat with Bruno Fernandes or Mason Mount, I think that makes sense. I think Anthony needs to step up. I think Jadon Sancho needs to step up. Marcus Rashford needs to show consistency when I say that, not go on a streak and then dip. I mean, actually scoring week in, week out. And I'm glad they didn't make him the captain because that's too much pressure just because he's the young academy kid who's not young anymore. But he was the guy who came through your academy, bank, board and bread and all that. You don't put him as captain. Bruno as captain, he's a passion merchant, it makes sense. But they've still got a bit of deadwood, and Andre Onana's a good signing. I know he got chipped from the halfway line the other day, but if they want to play better football, he's the guy for that. Third, I've said Arsenal. Same as Man United, they'll probably challenge a bit because Arteta tends to throw competitions away, and he'll probably throw the Champions League away, and Arsenal fans will make excuses for him. They'll probably throw the FA Cup away and the Carabao Cup away. I don't think Arsenal will get far in the Champions League. They never do. Under Wenger, they didn't get past the round of 16. There seems to be some sort of mental block and some sort of nervousness that Gabriel Jesus has mentioned. Declan Rice is experiencing those kind of things now, I guess, in a Conference League, and I know it's a bigger stage, Champions League, but I reckon that is important still. Him being in a Euro final it's still important. I reckon he'll bring that sort of experience. If you play him, Partey and Odegaard, that's a good midfield. Julian Timber's a very good signing. I think give him time and he'll settle into the Premier League really well. So is David Raya, if you get that over the line. But the Kai Havertz one makes no sense. The guy's not good at anything apart from bringing the ball down with his first touch. He can't strike a ball, can't finish, can't pass, can't link up, can't take people on. I don't understand the signing. One of the biggest flops in the Premier League history from a big club, in my opinion. And I don't understand it. I think they need a proper target man as some sort of versatility. I think you need to stop overplaying Bukayo Saka, give him a rest against the shit teams. And I think they'll be fine. I think they'll finish third. I don't think anyone else can really chat to Arsenal apart from Man United and Liverpool and Manchester City and maybe Chelsea. And if Villa, Newcastle and Tottenham can step up, then maybe, but they're not as good as Arsenal, are they? I think I'm expecting a good season again from Gabriel. Ben White had an amazing season up until the last few games. Bukayo Saka, Jesus and Martinelli's a good front three, but Jesus isn't a finisher. I know he links up very well. Very good player. Odegaard, I'm expecting him to go up another level. Thomas Partey to not bottle it for once. Aaron Ramsdale to maybe get a kick up the backside now that David Raya's there. Saliba will have an amazing season. I actually predict that he'll be Arsenal's best player in that season because he's just a sensational centre-back. Sensational. But yeah, I predict Arsenal to finish third. Second, Liverpool. There's more hope that they will sign a DM because they need to get Lavia over the line. I know that their owners don't like paying money, but you need to pay money to actually get deals over the line, especially when you've sold Henderson and Fabinho. If you're going into a Stamford Bridge with fucking Curtis Jones as your six, then you're fucked. But literally, a midfielder, a centre-back, you'll be fine. Like, legit. Like, get Fofana from Monaco. Because we're not getting him. So fucking get Fofana from Monaco. Like, just move smart. Like, just get a couple good signings in. Stop thinking Van Dijk's going to play fucking 40 games as well at centre-back again. There's so much pressure on Konate to perform because Joe Gomez and Matip aren't the level that they should be. Trent will have a good season. I don't know whether he's going to play the inverted role or just hug the touchline, but either way, he'll be fine. Will Mohamed Salah do it again? I'm going to say yes. He will score bare goals again, but let's see. Luis Diaz, I'm expecting a season from Luis Diaz, hopefully injury-free for his sake. Diogo Jota to step up with goals, and I'm expecting a better season from Darwin Núñez as well, because last season was his first season. Give him a chance. First, it's quite obvious, isn't it? Manchester City. They don't need to sign players to even finish first, in my opinion, but I reckon if they was to get a winger, they'll be fine. I think Foden will play in the midfield and maybe fill in off the left when Jack Grealish is not playing. They signed Jose Carvalho. They've got Mateo Kovacic, technically gifted players. Yes, Gundogan and Mahrez are a loss, but when have City not lost some of their best players? Bernardo Silva is now borderline bald. I don't know what that's all about, but I think Kyle Walker will stay. Ruben Diaz and John Stones and Kanji and Ake, they're just amazing. They're just amazing. And I don't know where Laporte is going to go. Apparently Arsenal and Tottenham are interested, but are they actually going to bid for him? But Aymeric Laporte is a centre-back that will be a loss again, but it's just not his time anymore. Manchester City will be fine. Haaland will score bare goals. Alvarez will chip in. Grealish will do good. De Bruyne will do good. He can't play as many games as he would usually, but he'll do good. Rodri have another amazing season. Ruben Diaz will play week in, week out. And they'll probably... I'm going to say they will win the FA Cup and the Premier League. I reckon they'll do the double. Not the treble this time. But that is it for the Premier League predictions. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Social medias are in the description if you want to follow me on the email for the inquiries. And yeah, the Premier League season starts here. Goodbye.